Good afternoon, everyone. It is our honor to be here. We are Chow and Lin, and we are Stephen Chow and Lin Hui Yi. We are two individuals. We also happen to be husband and wife. We do not represent an NGO, but we come with different skill sets. So I am a photographer by training, while Lin is an economist trained market researcher professional. So about 10 years ago, there was a particular week where I was in Kolkata and New York in the same period. In New York, you would expect to see skyscrapers, glitz lights. But what I saw was homeless people begging outside Wall Street, inside metro stations. While when I was a few days later, when I was in Kolkata, as my driver was driving into the city, I noticed that there were a lot of poor people sleeping right on the road itself. And I asked the driver, why is this so? And he mentioned that this is the only public property that they could rest at night. So the question that I gave to myself then was that, is it better to be poor in New York or Calcutta? It's a very difficult answer to actually answer that. But I think as me and Lin, we started discussing about this topic itself, we were wondering if there's any way that we could put our brains together. And back in 2010, when we were in China, we discovered that there is this economic term called the poverty line. And of course, every one of you understand what that is. And what we realized that it is also a food budget for a poor person in a single day. And back in China then, this amount amounts to 3.28 renminbi, or 50 cents US, a day a person for food. This amount of money cannot even get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And to me, that wasn't a lot. But then we went to the local markets in Beijing, and we wanted to see whether we could get something. Indeed, you can. You can get about 6 plain buns, or you could get a small bunch of vegetables, or even a single chicken breast for 3.28 yuan. It doesn't amount to a lot. And as we were photographing this, it is not to say that perhaps this poor person should eat a single chicken breast for the entire day, but it offers a choice. And I think this is what we wanted to do. It was meant to be a one country off project, and then we are on our way. But at the same time, a US magazine actually wrote about this project. And then from there, it went viral. It went viral within America, and then it went viral in Europe as well. One day, I came into the computer, and I saw that our website has crashed. And I realized that there were thousands of clicks that morning coming from Russia. I was very curious, and I followed the links where this came from. And there were hundreds of comments with our pictures. And so I can't understand Russian, so I started translating the Russian comments. And the comments were saying that, wow, the vegetables look so fresh. The meat looks so good. Wait till they come to Russia. And it occurred to us that a project that's in China actually elicited a lot of response within Russia, a country that is slightly distant away. And for us, this inspired us to perhaps we could bring this project international. And so from there, we started photographing in different countries. And the way we do is we still buy food based on the poverty line, but then we would use the newspapers in that country as the backdrop. And immediately you would understand this is Japan just looking through the newspaper articles behind. We were in India, where we were photographing the poverty line when I befriended a caretaker, a house caretaker, Arjun. When Arjun realized what I was doing, that I was photographing the poverty line in India, his first question was, are there poor people in Switzerland? And to me, that is such a surprising but yet charming question. And I said, of course, there are poor people in Switzerland. In fact, there are poor people everywhere. But I think his response, again, tells us that this project transcends beyond the boundaries of this project. And as we photograph in different countries, including in UAE, even photographs, language, even the food items they become very localized. Yet at the same time, it reminds us that we all live in a very connected world, because even though we may not understand the language behind, we still understand what food is. In fact, the newspapers also offer a backdrop of a sense of place and also a sense of time. This project is actually photographed in Brazil, and if you can see on the lower right of the picture, it's a picture of Pelé, taken 1 year before Brazil hosted the World Cup.
So over the past 2 days, when we had our exhibition outside, we had people coming up to us to ask us, what do these photos mean? How do you calculate the figures behind the photos? So when we started thinking about this becoming a global project instead of just a one-country project, we realized that we needed a methodology that we are able to consistently apply across different countries. And of course, we know that a lot of developing countries may use absolute poverty lines, whereas a lot of developed countries may use relative poverty lines. But we need a way to translate across all the different countries in the different types of poverty definitions that they have. So we chose, we spoke to a lot of economists and researchers who are experts in this field. And we decided that for developing countries, we would use the poverty line definition of that country, and we divide it into a per person per day rate, and we take that amount to go out and buy food. And for developed countries, we would take, again, a per person per day rate of the poverty line definition of that country, and then we multiply it by the typical expenditure by a low-income household that is spent on food items. And that gives us the amount of money and that we will go out to buy food with. So that is the methodology that we adopted across different countries across the world. So we have gone out to take a variety of items, food items, in every country. Here we see the Republic of Korea. You'll see that we try to take across different food groups, including carbohydrates, proteins. We have fruits and vegetables. We have even snacks and sweets. And here, this is France that we took in 2015. And people also ask us, why do you take such a variety of food groups? Why don't you just take what poor people are probably eating? And we were actually inspired by a book called Poor Economics, written by 2 MIT professors, Professor Abhijit Banerjee and Professor Esther Duflo, where they say that from their studies, the psyche of poor people making choices within a limited set of constraints is actually something we need to understand more. That very often we assume if a poor person has more money, they should go out to buy more calories, more carbohydrates to make themselves fuller. But that is not necessarily the case. If they have more money for 1 week, they might want to go and buy better calories, better proteins, and even a sweet treat, something that they may not be able to afford normally. So these are choices, and we wanted to bring out this message as well through this project. Since 2008, we have photographed the Poverty Line Project in 31 countries and territories across 6 continents. And in our work, as we come across more and more countries and food cultures, we also find very interesting comparisons and parallels. This compilation here is of different staples in different countries. We would see grains, we would see breads, we'll see pasta and noodles. And this is a compilation of eggs that we have seen across different countries. When we did an exhibition in Beijing a couple of years ago, we went to a local printer to print out photos of China, France, and US case studies. And when we went to the printing shop to collect our photos, we saw that the printer had an egg on his table next to our photos. And we asked him, why do you have an egg here? And he was a bit sheepish, and he told us, I know you're doing this project, and I was very curious, how do the eggs in China compare against the eggs in France? French eggs look very white. I wonder if they're the same size. So to him, that was an interesting comparison and observation. Why do we do this project? Over the years, it's really been a project of our own passion. My background is that I was a civil servant. I worked in the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Singapore, formulating enterprise development and economic policies. and I later on switched into market research. So I've been working with a lot of data, with understanding macroeconomic situations, understanding overall market demand and supply forces. But art to us has become a language, a platform for us to bridge this understanding of issues which concern all of us, but yet need to be very tangible to people on the ground and to the mass public and the stakeholders that are really part of understanding what we can do about this situation.
So in the last 8 years, when we have been doing the project, we have also gathered quite a bit of attention. We have been covered by media across 6 continents, media from the mainstream side, as well as on the art side. And at the same time, we have also been doing large-scale exhibitions around the world in more than 10 countries. This is actually the photo biennale in the CAFA Museum in Beijing. And the CAFA Museum is one of China's most important contemporary art museums over there. And at the same time, wherever we go, this is an exhibition that we did in Paris. We attract people from all walks of life. What is really interesting is that the interactions, the questions, and the reactions from people is often very varied. And it's not for us to say, okay, this is how you should think about the particular project. This is most recent in Penang, Malaysia. And what we find interesting is that we speak about poverty, but the subjects that we use is food and newspapers. And of course, food and newspapers to us is accessible to all stratas of the society. It doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or someone of low income level. You will understand the amount of food that is needed for a person. And even for children, they would understand the poverty line as we interacted with them, because they themselves would understand if 2 apples would be enough for a day's worth of food. And for us, I think that's very encouraging. We even gone to Taiwan, where we did a workshop with 200 individuals to actually photograph their own poverty line, to get a sense of how much food they are handling. And for us, we have also been invited to speak at conferences, of course, including this one, TEDx conferences, APEC Women Summits, and also to different universities, including the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy in Singapore, as well as University of Sciences Po in Paris. And for us, I think, why do we do this? As what Lin has earlier mentioned, I think it's our passion. We are 2 individuals, and this project has been completely self-funded for all the countries that we've been to. And what we find is we are inspired because a topic like poverty that we are so passionate about can actually generate different conversations and different layers of understanding. And through our work, we find that this is slowly happening. And so perhaps we'll have a ask, if you feel that this work can benefit your community, or if you feel that this message can go even further and wider, feel free to speak to us after this presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.